What's up, and welcome to a very special Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. What's up? I'm Jay Hood. We got CJ Taylor with me as well. As we have our conversation, put your thoughts in the comments so we can have our discussion about professional wrestling, sports entertainment, RASSLIN, that's wrestling. CJ, as always, man, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir. Always great to be on Wrestling Tuesdays. I'm sure we've got a ton of things to discuss as this was a wild weekend.
It really was. If you're watching on YouTube, and also on Twitch and also on X, Twitter, the scrolls on the bottom. If you have never seen me before, check me out every Sunday for Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7, the old Busted Open. I'm on every Sunday with Justin LeBar. Check me out Sunday mornings. Of course, the Mothership. It's right over my shoulder over here. It's Good Karma Wrestling every Thursday. And make sure you check us out on YouTube for Good Karma Wrestling. But this is a very special show because we're coming off the heels of SummerSlam. So we decided to dust off the old Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. Right, it is right there. Fresh. And you know what's great about this, CJ? It's actually taking place on Tuesday.
Hey, what could be better?
That's why that's really good. I'm surprised you're not wearing your T-shirt, man. I'm surprised. Is it deep into the drawer? Have you forgotten
No,
about the Wrestling Tuesday?
It's not deep in the drawer. A brother was rushing home from work and barely made it in.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm glad that you're here, and we're also on TikTok. I always forget about certain things, like self promotion. Tuesday
Yeah.
Wrestling Tuesday is also on TikTok as well. We want to be able to grow that thing. I have a goal for that TikTok feed. Hopefully, we can grow that into 4 digits by the end of the
Okay.
year. So thanks so much for the support for everything that I do in wrestling. So let's start here. Let's talk about SummerSlam. You and I, CJ. SummerSlam emanating from New Jersey, a 2-night event. We ask you to like, share, and subscribe everything we do here with our Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday special. Leave your comments, and we'll definitely read them at the end of our podcast. But there it is, MetLife Stadium for SummerSlam. I want to get your initial letter grade for SummerSlam. Night 1, night 2, put it all together. What do you think the letter grade is for everything you saw?
What? I'm probably going to be a little bit more on the harsh end than I think some people will. That was overall probably about I think the highest I could probably go is a B, probably. I'm more in the CC plus range
Mm-hmm.
just because night one to me was so weak in terms of the matches, whereas night two I thought really excelled, for most of the night. Night one just outside of the opening match and then the closing match,
Mm-hmm.
there just wasn't a lot in between those two matches, at least not enough for me to like really care about because the storylines leading up to those matches in between the opener and the main event, that there was nothing for me to sink my teeth into. So I was watching it. My kids were more excited than I was
Always.
watching it, watching the matches, and it just it didn't hit for me at all.
As we have our conversation, check out the ctjreport.net. You should always have this on your phone. Always have this handy. The ctjreport.net. It's right there.
Always,
All the
always.
all the AEW, WWE musings, culture, music. It's all there. The smart aleck that is CJ Taylor with us has always got something going on the
Yeah,
blog. So I would agree with you that it's somewhere around the B minus range. But here's
yeah.
why. I look at night one, and we both saw the cards when they all came out. We knew
Hmm.
that night two was going to be the better
Oh yeah.
one, CJ, because you take a look at, John Cena against Cody Rhodes, whatever that was going to be. You get a chance to see Naomi. Let me help you out here. So talk about Naomi. That's for you. So there's
Thank you.
Naomi and I and Io Sky. Hands above the desk, please. Naomi, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley for the women's championship. From there, you've got Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria for the Intercontinental Championship, Solo and Fatu in the cage.
Hmm.
Dom, AJ, you've got the tag team championships in the TLC match. So we knew that night two was going to be better. I think it actually helped SummerSlam. Night one, it was on the surface a one match card, and that was the main event. And then, of course, aftermath. So we kind of knew that night two had all the gimmicks. You know how many gimmick
Hmm.
matches in night two? You know, you got a cage match. You've got a pretty much
Yeah.
disqualification match. You've got
Yeah.
the TLC match. Like all the gimmicks, all the
Hmm.
stuff happened in night two.
Yeah, and maybe night one would have helped if they had a few more stipulations. Like if you're gonna have Karrion Cross and Sami Zayn go at it, and they've been, you know, feuding for a while, why not have that be some type of a stipulation match to just kind of up the stakes? Because we just saw them at the previous PLE. So let's up the stakes here to, you know, just try to bring a little more excitement into it. And I just didn't it didn't have it for me. It just wasn't there. Night two, though, really, you know, from the opening match with the triple threat with Naomi, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley, just they set the tone um, for the rest of the night because they all three came out and put on a banger. And since we're on the subject of Naomi,
Yes. Oh, yes. Go ahead.
she she has become the most interesting character right now, uh, at least for the women, and maybe in all of WWE right now. Her heel run has been magnificent.
Hmm.
It's just she has really taken it. This is easily the best stretch, the best run of her career. Uh, she has really she sunk her teeth into this heel role and it's just taken off. And you know, all of it in our back of our minds, we've seen these kind of like mini pushes for Naomi before, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of, you know, she may get a title, but it doesn't really go anywhere. They're really letting her run with this thing, and she's been fantastic.
You know, it's interesting about Naomi with her return to TNA, and then leaving and then coming back to WWE. She was going to be in the same kind of vortex.
Hmm.
Kind of like Motor City Machine Guns, or kind of like DIY in that same way, where it's like she comes back, she proves herself as a champion in TNA as a knockout, and then she comes back. She didn't know that she was going to be a heel this on Naomi 2.0. She didn't know. She had to find herself even after her run as TNA champion. That says
Hmm.
something, right? She could be stuck like Rusev right now, or
Hmm.
Andrade in the same spot, just like, hey,
Yeah.
you left and you proved yourself and you came back, and guess what? You're the same person and the same slot. No, she's a completely different person. It's amazing what a fresh coat of paint does for your career. Just like no one ever thought that Naomi could be a heel. And now she's just crazy and unhinged and believable and can go in the ring. So
Yeah.
she's always been a complete package. Just the seasoning of heel helps her
Hmm.
out. And so that's where she is right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because her first heel run back in 2015, you know, it like she tried her best, but I don't know if it necessarily came off as, you know, as believable because she has been a baby face pretty much all of her career. So to see her, you know, move over to TNA and then come back and then be able just to like really run with this character. Like you said, she is completely unhinged. Her social media is just yeah, she stays out of pocket on social
Yeah.
media, and
Yes.
it's helping, you know, helping the character. Like you want to see her now. You want to see what she's gonna say next. You know who she's gonna clown next on the microphone, and you know she's always been athletic. We've always known this about her, but now it's all coming together, and it's really exciting to see. I'm happy for
There you go. So there you go. Again, that's my present to you. I'll send you
her.
that later so you can spend time with that Naomi. All kind of different Naomis all over the place. Let's talk about this man right here. Let's talk about Paul Levesque, Triple H. You know, CJ, let me tell you about Paul Levesque. Paul Levesque, I think he likes some of us as fans, but I
Hmm.
think also he thinks that we're stupid. I think this man
Hmm.
thinks that, kind of like, his father-in-law. I think that Triple H just thinks that all the fans will just fall for anything. It is amazing, sonically, how on SmackDown, and I did like the post show, the After Dark show on Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7 on Friday night. I just sat back with my feet up, like, I just a go home show. Not much is going to happen. All of a sudden, John Cena tells Cody Rhodes, this is exactly what I needed. This matchup. I need this match. I'm glad we
Hmm.
have the stipulations that it's just, anything goes and it's a street fight because I need this because, you know, I got bad advice on how I should be able to, treat my character. And you know what? I'm the John Cena that everyone knows returns on August 1st, 2025. That was the day SmackDown happened. And I'm just
Hmm.
sitting there like, wait. You're not going to tell us a story? You're going to ramp up to this? There's no inkling that you're going to turn babyface? He just says on Friday, you know what? Whatever The Rock came up with before, with that whole Travis Scott thing, yeah, that's not really me. I'm a babyface, everybody. Love me. I'm going to hug my wife and I'm going to go to the back. And I'm going to be a babyface going into SummerSlam. That is not right. I want to get your reaction to that because I know you're watching that live on Friday like I was as well. We probably should just fire up the podcast at that point in time because
Right.
it is amazing how this man looks at us like, yeah, we'll just swerve him, and John Cena's going to be a babyface. And it's kind of like, dude, you couldn't like, at least ramp up to that. You couldn't give us an idea that that was going to happen. They just tore it up on Friday in Newark. They're just like, we're just not. You know what? You're going to be a babyface.
Here's the thing about Triple H, and I think it's going to be something that some people may not want to accept. He's a, a lot like Vince more than people think in terms of how he wants to book things and being that kind of audience of one. Yes, he's got his team around him and they, do all this, creative and stuff, but Triple H will just, drop things, at the drop of a hat and expect the public to believe it. And it was for smart wrestling fans like you, like me, others, that was a complete slap in the face to have scenes. Hey, it's cool, y'all. I'm straight. Let's, Mr. Hustle, loyalty, and respect is back. Let's go. You, like, what was the point of this whole 4 or 5 month stretch of him being a heel, talking about he wanted to ruin wrestling, that he was going to leave as the last real champion, selling his soul to The Rock? What was all of that for if he's just going to be like, nah, I just got some bad advice, y'all. I'm just playing. Yeah,
I'm just
I'm
playing.
back.
I mean, all of this is a couple of things with this, but first, I just want to address The Rock because clearly Dwayne Johnson is too busy or is just pushed aside from a creative standpoint now in WWE. Otherwise, we would have saw him at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. The
Hmm.
Rock's not even around to close the loop on this thing. He's not even
Hmm.
around to close the loop on it. I expected him to see him at SummerSlam. I did, and I was surprised that we did not see him. I'm like, well, I mean, how I'm writing it is, Rock, are you available for one night? Come in night two, because John Cena is now a babyface. Well, here's how. Let me start from the beginning. So going into the match with Cody and Cena, CJ, I have Cena still being the same guy, but yet wrestling at that same level on Sunday. We haven't seen John wrestle like that in 10 to 12 years.
Hmm.
As a heel, he was not wrestling that way. He was wrestling what he thought was a heel style, taking the
Yeah.
punishment, moving slow in the ring, just being an ass, just
Hmm.
doing everything in slow motion. The way I'm writing it is that Cena goes in as the heel, but yet he turns up the juice like we saw on Sunday. Like, oh my God, we hadn't seen John look like this in 10 to 12 years. When the
Yeah.
match is done, Cody wins. And
Hmm.
so now afterwards, everyone has a respect for Cody and Cena. Cena puts his hand out, shakes his hand. all the stuff he did that we saw on Sunday, smile, all that, like, you know what, you're the better man. You know what? I feel you could take the mic and say, you know what, Cody's a better man. Cody's the champion. He's the guy moving forward. I'm retiring soon. So hats off to Cody. Rock comes down and said, no, 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 no. No, you're supposed to be against this guy. This guy didn't want to give him that. So we go through that, right? And then if you want to bring Lesnar out, Lesnar F5 Cena, and Cena definitely is a babyface then. But the point is, though, is that you could have got to the same place if Cena doesn't turn babyface on Friday. Does that make sense? Like, you could have done that after SummerSlam.
It makes perfect sense. And to, speak on that a little more, you could have planted seeds in the weeks up to this.
Yeah.
Where, maybe Cody's talking to him, or maybe Punk's talking to him, or, whoever Cena's facing at the time. And they're like, this is not you. We know who you are. You're Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect. You're Mr. Never Quit. And just continuing to plant those seeds of, no, you're not this guy that Rock wants you to be. And you can use that to write Rock out, so you can get rid of that storyline once and for all, as opposed to what they did on Friday. And then you get to the same, like we talked about, the same conclusion on Sunday. Cena's still heelish, but he realizes through the course of this match that, hey, Cody's the better man, and I just got to give my respects to him. And that could have been that. If you knew Rock wasn't, and they knew Rock wasn't going to be there, so why not just take that opportunity to spend a few weeks writing that story out, writing Rock out, and having the gradual, like, planting of the seeds of doubt of, yeah, I really shouldn't be a heel. This is not me, as opposed to how they did it on Friday, because it was an insult.
Yeah.
It was an insult to a lot of people.
And officially, it's a failure on the part of WWE because The Rock says, I want Cody to be a heel, reportedly. And Triple H is like, no. And Cody's like, no, we're not doing that. And say, well, what about John? John's like, man, I've always wanted to be a heel. I've been wanting to be a heel for a while since I started. Yeah, let's do this, right? And it failed. And it failed. And it failed miserably. And instead of, if you want to shoot, because we're at the Unreal era, instead of Cena being able to call out The Rock and Travis Scott, instead of just saying, well, I got bad advice, call him out. Like, if you got a problem with one of the board members of the TKO who wanted a heel turn of some distinction, it didn't happen with Cody, it happened with John Cena, and it failed miserably. We got an okay match against Randy Orton. We have a very good match against CM Punk. And this is the best that we've seen Cena in 10 to 12 years. He turned the clock back. Some say it's like one of the Cena's best matches. I think it is. I don't think it's his best match, but it's one of the best matches that he's had. Where he didn't look blown up. He didn't look injured. He didn't look slow. He looked like the inspired Cena that people rooted for a long time. But it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin, going with Vince McMahon. It's Dusty Rhodes turning to the NWO. It's Jim Duggan being a Canadian sympathizer, if people want that deep cut from WCW where you shave your beard. I mean, it's just a bunch of failed things that happen where it's like, well, we'll make this turn, make this change. And with Cena, because he didn't have a manager, because he couldn't go, or it appeared like he couldn't go, at least he appeared that way, it just failed. And so they's like, yeah, on SmackDown, you just be a babyface. And I just think that that's insulting for all of us fans for that to happen. But Cena now will have to face Brock Lesnar. You have any other thoughts about Cena and that heel run, or where we are right now?
There was so much promise when he initially turned heel at Elimination Chamber, because it was, people have wanted Cena to turn heel for the better part of a decade, and to actually see it happen the way it happened, him selling his soul and all of this stuff, it was promising. But if you knew Rock wasn't going to be there and he wasn't going to commit to this, you have to pivot, to another route if you're going to have Cena do this heel thing. And if he wanted to do it, fine, but give him another story to fixate on, because this whole thing of him selling his soul to The Rock, and it just fell flat after 2 weeks. He cut some fire promos the first couple of weeks after Elimination Chamber, but then there was it just started to fizzle after that because people were expecting The Rock. Some people were expecting some corporate, TKO faction, with Cena as the, corporate champion. And when none of that happened, that's where it just all fell apart. And, you know, the, Triple H has to take, some, if not most of the blame for this
Hmm.
because you allow the Rock to, and I understand the Rock is a mega icon in the business, but you allowed him to basically hijack uh, WrestleMania, really, to the point where you had John Cena doing his heel run with no end game whatsoever to it, to where Triple H just had to cut his losses and just decide to turn babyface.
I just I just think that is just a mistake. It's like Austin turning heel against The Rock and joining the McMahon Corporation. Nobody wanted to see it. And the reason why it failed, not from a merchandise standpoint, not even
Hmm.
from a rating standpoint, it's just that from a storyline standpoint, it didn't do anything for John. And here's also how I know. When you are a veteran and you know you're retiring and you turn heel, which young superstar did John Cena make better?
He played his hits, which is the wild part about the heel run was he played his hits. Randy Orton, CM Punk, whatever little run-ins, R-Truth, all the little run-ins that he had. But there was no young, baby face to put over. Even giving the title back to Cody's already a made man. So what was really the point of him relinquishing the belt back to Cody? That could have
Yeah.
been something for, maybe this is the other problem with WWE right now. Who is your young baby face?
I mean, or babyface is just like your long list. They just like the old man McMahon relies on the veterans, the
Hmm.
people that he feels are dependable. But at some point, you got to find out who's the next Lyra Valkyria or of that ilk on the men's side.
Hmm.
Like you got to be able to make those. They just can't be underneath talent. They have to
Yeah.
at some point be in the main events. And again, I guess that's going to be Braun Breaker at some point, or Bronson Reed at some point. But it's got
Hmm.
to be a longer list than that because the future is now. As we talk about SummerSlam right here on the Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday, is a very special edition. And we ask you if you have any comments, whether it's on X, whether it is on YouTube, we'll be glad to answer your questions and read your comments at that point in time. So speaking of SummerSlam, at the end of the Seth Rollins cash in, it was awesome. That was great. We'll talk about that in a second. But as far as the end as far as the end of the John Cena matchup, came out of nowhere. The dirt sheets didn't have this. No one said this was going to happen. So if anyone out there says, "Oh, I knew Brock was coming back," you're full of shit because no one had that. No one had this guy coming back out of nowhere at SummerSlam to confront John Cena. And so there he is, Brock Lesnar returning to WWE. Now, my initial reaction was, okay, well, this is TKO, so you can do what you want. You could be one of the owners of a company in TKO and slap your wife on camera and get no repercussions. You can go back and forth to jail in TKO if you're a UFC fighter and still be in that cage, for a fight. No repercussions, no real repercussions. They'll try to get you out of jail. But for Brock Lesnar, let's just tell it how we know it.
Hmm.
As far as we know, it's accusations with Brock Lesnar trying to hook up with Janelle Grant, the person that is suing Vince McMahon. But again, even with those allegations, WWE and TKO is comfortable enough to say, yeah, Brock, you haven't been implicated. So just come on back, get yourself a payday against John Cena. And I just think that that's quite the choice.
Oh, it's definitely a choice.
Yeah.
They definitely made a choice. The optics are all bad on this. It's just a really bad look. I took a little time to kind of roll through social media to see what the reaction would be to Brock Lesnar coming back, and women are not feeling this at all, nor should they. It is a complete slap in the face to the female fans of WWE when you have someone that is implicated in a lawsuit, a sex trafficking lawsuit, on to on top of that, and it's just all bad. No, I wasn't expecting him to come back, um, but I figured something was going to happen. Because my initial theory was, okay, well, if Cena's going to be a face, is Cody gonna like turn to the dark side or something? Like something has to happen at the end of this thing to kind of make people go, whoa, what just happened? For Brock Lesnar to be that that guy to for everybody to be like, whoa, what just happened? That's not necessarily how you want to end that thing, because
Well,
not only that, most of their PLEs end with these press conferences where you have the press coming in and being able to ask the talent and Triple H questions. Suddenly, you just abruptly, it's like, nah, we just gonna do the post game show with Big E and the team.
why you think that was? I put that on TikTok. That's something that's like, there's a reason why they're not doing press conferences. Could you
Yeah.
imagine the questions to questions this man was Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer. Yeah. Let me ask you, Hunter, or Paul. Let me ask you. So why are you aligned with Trump? That'll be the first thing. Like,
Hmm.
why are you part of Trump's cabinet in some ways? Whether that's a fair or unfair question, again, he's part of it, so he
Yeah.
was seen there. The next question would be, hey, Triple H, so you brought back Brock Lesnar, who is involved, who's named in this lawsuit from Janelle Grant. Do you think that was good? Do you think that was best for business? That's another question, right? And so obviously the other thing is, from a wrestling standpoint, how much does The Rock have any swing in what you do, because you undid everything he did as far as John Cena being a heel. So from the wrestling to the real, there's a lot of questions that Triple H would have to answer, and he's not doing that anymore, especially with the Brock Lesnar stuff. And so, and again, I want to make sure it's very clear. We're not saying that Brock did anything. I know that I read some of the stuff. I can't say I read everything, but I read some things. And Brock Lesnar is going to be quote unquote set up to meet Janelle Grant through Vince McMahon.
Hmm.
Who knows if anything happened? If I have no idea. I just know that it was something was supposed to happen and it didn't. So I don't know. I just look at it from the wrestling standpoint and say it's cool for John Cena and Lesnar to wrestle again for Cena's last ride. But again, morality does not matter in TKO. I think that's very clear.
Absolutely clear. They really give a damn about morality.
Yeah.
If you still got Conor McGregor, if you still got Dana White, in tow, and
John
until this,
Jones.
yeah, John Jones, and until this whole lawsuit with Janelle Grant uh, popped off, Vince McMahon. So yeah, morality means nothing to TKO. It's really all about making money, bringing money in. There is no such thing as bad news to them, or bad optics. If it can print money for them, they're going to do it. They're really going to do it. Um, you know what? Honestly, I just think we really didn't need Brock Lesnar for this, for Cena's last run. I'm just going to go out and say it.
That's
We really
fair.
didn't need. I think Cena could have taken on, whether it been Roman, and they already did it with Punk, but they could have saved that, and just kind of have Cena kind of go out on a shield, and you didn't need Brock Lesnar to do that. So, but again, it's the cash grab. I'm sure this match is either going to take place at Crown Jewel or Survivor Series, some major PLE, where they just want to make a ton of money, but it's just bad. it's a really bad look, and the really sad part of it, I don't think TKO cares.
No, but I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised, but
Um,
because this man Triple H is he's saying to us, CJ, like, you ain't seen nothing yet. Talking about after night one, says, "Oh boy, you guys." And so what I thought he meant is like that we would see something going on with Cody's character, right? Well,
mhm,
or we see some kind of outside interference. You know what we got? We got an actual match between Cena and Rhodes with no Travis Scott, no outside interference. It's just those two. And so there was a swerve there because I was thinking before the match, I was thinking this thing is going to be a circus, right?
yeah,
Because John can't go anymore. And then we saw John look like 2012, 2012, 2013 scene. And I'm like, wow, like,
mhm,
where's this been, right? This explosion of energy, this strength and this power that we hadn't seen in a long time. And so I can't say that I'm surprised. I just thought that Triple H underdelivered. First of all, with the bad idea, bad creative, with John Cena being a heel, and whether that's over his head or not, I'm just saying it's on his watch. It's terrible. And then
mhm,
from there, just like, yeah, just turn back heel, just out of nowhere. I didn't even get the Sergeant Slaughter, like after 6 months of being, a year of being a heel. I didn't even get, I want my country back. I didn't even
right,
get that from him like Slaughter did. Slaughter had to
yeah,
beg for our forgiveness. Do you remember that?
right,
Cena didn't
yeah,
have to beg. You were just like, yep, you're going to turn this around. I'm a babyface now. Do, 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 do. Like, wait a
and
minute.
and the fans erupted. Ah, babyface Cena is back. I was like, okay, all right.
That's just strange. A special edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. Make sure that you leave your comments if you have any questions. We'd be glad to answer your questions. You can find CJ Taylor on TikTok and X, and of course the ctjreport.net. Let's give him some hits because I know that there's going to be about 1,000 words after this podcast because he's got more to say. So this man right here, Chicago Bears fan Seth Rollins. So it's a funny thing, CJ, about Seth Rollins. Sky is on Saturday night's main event. He takes on LA Knight. The match ends abruptly because it's a spot we've seen a million times, right? Where
Hmm.
someone thinks that they've landed wrong, and then all of a sudden it's like there's someone wrong with the knee. This time it's carried out to the point where they, you know, LA Knight takes the pinfall quickly, and then Rollins is helped to the back. So we think there's something wrong with the knee. I heard that there was something wrong with his knee before Saturday night's main event, but not to the point
Hmm.
where he couldn't wrestle, but it just wasn't 100%. Who's 100%
Yeah,
in wrestling?
no one.
So then, so then a couple of days later, after that incident, Saturday night's main event, this man pulls up on the Rich Eisen show and hosts the show. Not just like a guest, hosts the show, gets behind the mic and just like, oh shit, I got to talk about this. Okay, guys, here's what happened. So my crutches are over there, and I've got a whole thing with the knee, and they can't see it right now until the swelling goes down. Not true. Uh, it's funny. They're in Birmingham. If you recall that when Raw was in
Yeah, yeah,
Birmingham, where Dr. James Andrews is there, they couldn't check on that
yeah,
knee, huh? Couldn't check on it
yeah,
with Dr. James Andrews in Birmingham, who sees all the athletes for
yeah,
their ailments. Couldn't see it because the swelling's too much. So even Dr. James Andrews couldn't give me any. So I should have known right there that was bullshit. But I was like, nah,
yeah,
no, no, no. So he's away and he disappears. And there's videos of him spending time with his daughter, with him on the crutches. I was told that he straight up kayfabed everybody except his wife, Becky Lynch, and his daughter. And his daughter knew. His daughter told her teacher what was going on with Seth Rollins. Can you believe that? Don't tell
yeah.
kids anything. That's a true
Ever.
story. The true story that it's like, hey, what's wrong with your dad? It's like, oh, he's okay. He walks around the house. He's just fine, you know. So she couldn't even kayfabe. His daughter couldn't even kayfabe the teachers in her own school. But it's a good job by Seth Rollins. But two things at work with this. One, if you're an LA Knight fan, and I follow a couple of Twitter feeds that are LA Knight fans, like LA Knight
Hmm.
everything, right? They're
Yeah.
furious. They're furious because their guy was not on SummerSlam, took a pinfall on Seth Rollins, and did not get on SummerSlam. He wrestled on Monday Night Raw, as we all know, which we'll get to later. But then, if you are just one of the few that are Goldberg fans, very few that are Goldberg fans, you're pissed also because you feel like, wait, my man, his time was cut because of Seth Rollins' injury. And so, what about my guy Goldberg? So, I think all of this is just crazy. At the end, we see him, relinquish his crutches and gets off, takes off his brace, and then he cashes in. It was awesome to see because he is Mr. Cash In, but just all of that, man, all of that to say that he's really hurt when he's not working everybody. I got worked. Everybody got worked.
That is next level villainy. Uh, that Seth pulled. I mean, you had legitimate news organizations like, hey, Seth could be out weeks, if not months.
Yes.
He literally worked the entire world into thinking that he was not going to be back for months. So much so that you were reading the dirt sheets talking about, well, what, how are they going to, what are they going to do with Money in the Bank? Uh, how do they move around this? What do they do with Braun and Bronson? How does this thing go on? The whole time Seth is just, sitting back in the back laughing, because he's fooled everybody. Now, some may want to say that was a bit unethical in what Seth did. Um, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Uh, but he has clearly established himself as the hater of 2025. To go these type of lengths to fake an injury. Now let me back up though.
Okay.
I do think he was legit injured, but I don't think that knee was as serious as he portrayed it to be.
That's
Like I
fair.
think he legit tweaked his knee during that LA Knight match. And I think they kind of hushed him away. They saw him. It was like, the knee's fine. You'll be fine in a couple of weeks. Don't worry about it. And that's when I think Seth came up with, hey, why don't we play this as a legit injury where I'm gonna fool everybody into thinking I'm injured when I'm really not, and I'm gonna cash in when everyone least expect it. Because we were going into that match with CM Punk and Gunther, everybody was rooting for CM Punk. They wanted him to get that title,
Yeah.
to have that moment, after 12 years of holding a world title, and it the place popped when Punk won, and they were celebrating. I I just looked at my wife as this was going on. I was like, you know what? They haven't popped the fireworks yet. The the end credits hadn't started rolling, nothing. I was like, something's about to happen. Seth's gonna cash in. She's like, he's hurt. No, he's gonna cash in. It's happening.
The trained eye. The trained eye.
And sure enough, Seth's music hits, and you just knew. Even when he came out on the crutches, like this is all a farce. He's going to drop the crutches like he did with Triple H before WrestleMania 33, and reveal that he's good to go. And it was a moment. It's going to be a moment that's going to be replayed over and over again because that's what WWE wants. They want those moments. It's also going to be a moment, it's going to be infamous because you got a lot of fans of other wrestlers who are legitimately pissed off. LA Knight, CM Punk, the list goes on and on. Even some Gunther fans were like, kind of pissed off at all of this. So, yeah, Seth Rollins is the most hated man in WWE right now, but you got to tip your cap to him. He really pulled the fast one.
I think that along with that, I think we have a clearer vision, the vision of what's going on in WWE because of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins. CJ, this is perfect now. You cannot have a band with no name. You must have
Hmm.
some kind of name, right? And I was
Yeah,
calling them like Dangerous Alliance or the New Dangerous Alliance.
yeah.
The first Dangerous Alliance was cold, though.
It
It's
was.
very
It was
underrated,
so
man.
awesome.
You got
It was
Steve
so awesome.
Austin.
Yeah.
You've got Bobby Eaton, Larry
Bobby
Zbyszko,
Eaton. Yeah.
Rick Rude,
Rick Rude was
Medusa,
there. Yeah.
Medusa, and Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
That was. Let me tell you something. You talk about individual talent, and Arn. I think Arn was part of
Yeah.
that too. If I'm
Arn.
not
I
mistaken.
think Arn and Tully at one point were a
It was
part of.
Arn and I think it was Arn and Zbyszko as a team. Maybe it was Arn and Bobby Eaton. Maybe it was Arn and Bobby Eaton. I think they were a tag team. Tully was
Okay.
not there at that time. No, this is like early
Early
90s.
early 90s, 90, 91, somewhere around there.
Somewhere
Where
in that area. The reason why it wasn't Tully is because Tully was busy. It was not allowed back in the company after his Brainbusters time. So
yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
allergies.
Yeah.
But
I
you know
understand. Yeah.
that was a problem with Tully. It's the reason why I didn't come back to WCW at the time. But this vision, I'm glad they have a name. Thank God. So I don't have to call them the Dangerous Alliance.
Hmm.
It's cold now, man. It's a cold team because it's you're a good faction when you have the guy, the manager,
Hmm.
the present, and then the
Hmm.
future,
Yeah.
all in the same deal. And so
Yeah.
Bronson Reed is supposed to at some point he can't just be the guy taking the pinfalls. At some point, like if he's the present, more than the tsunamis, more than the TV time, that
Hmm.
dude's got to be able to have some gold at some point. As a matter of fact, I see Braun and Bronson being tag team champions at some point. I think they could be that good. You get the
Yeah.
speed and the power. That's the best tag team. Speed, power. That's all.
Oh yeah.
That matter if they have similar weight. Someone's fast and someone's big. That always works in a tag team, right? Hart and Neidhart, Tully and Arn,
Hmm.
um, Paul Roma and Hercules, Power and Glory.
Yeah.
You always got to have that, right?
Great
Got that
callback.
you got all got that with FTR. Like someone's got to be the
Yeah.
power, someone's got to be the speed. So
Yeah.
I like what this is now, and so now that he's a centerpiece, Rollins is a champion. CJ, this is good. This is going to be good for this group because now they're going to be feared.
They're going to be feared, and you have to book them at least to start to crush everyone. Like they must leave just like a trail of destruction behind them with this faction, and they got off to a great start on Monday and taking out uh, CM Punk, LA Knight, and Roman Reigns all in one night, and then Bronson just took the man like, listen, Roman's gonna have to get the whole bloodline family, like Zilla. You just gotta grab everybody because you can't keep taking my shoes every single week. Like we you gotta go see that man.
That is somebody from the islands creative. That's not some
Hmm.
dude in the back. That's not
Yeah.
Triple H coming with that. That's someone that says, in the neighborhood what happens when you take someone's shoes and you hang them up on the
Hmm.
telephone pole.
Yeah.
A lot of I don't think I think some people in this country knows what that is, and
Hmm.
some do and some don't. But if you know, you know. Like with him
Yeah.
taking Roman shoes, that is the equivalent of saying, "We killed you." And
Hmm.
now we're going to take your shoes and now we're going to hang them up as a trophy in your
Yeah.
neighborhood. That's what that is. I'm glad. I don't know who can. I would think that someone in the island of relevancy, talking about Roman or Jay or
Yeah.
Jimmy, somewhere in that circle, they came up with that as a creative. And I think that is, if you know, you know, but that is something we've never seen before in wrestling. Never.
Yeah. That was awesome to see. Like the first time he did it, like I initially just laughed. It's like, oh, he took this dude's shoes. Like,
Well,
you like, man, come on. When he did it again, it was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is what it is now. All right, he's taking
the
this man's like manhood, like got the shoes wrapped around his neck. I think
Shulapala.
the shoe. But the faction again, as a whole, like they just a trail of destruction must happen. They just got to go through everybody before we get to the eventual betrayal of Braun, because that's what this is. The end of this is
Yes.
is that Braun's got to be the one that breaks away from the group. Do you think they should add one more member, or is this perfect as it is?
Yes, Becky Lynch. Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're on the same wavelength.
Oh yeah. Now here's the thing: she don't have to say anything. She could just be there with Seth. She don't need like the actual mic time with the rest of the division. It's just like
Hmm.
it's just too convenient for Becky to mention her hot husband to Nikki Cross, to Nikki Bella on Monday Night Raw. I feel like there could be something there. She's not a valet. She's not a manager because she's the man, right? So she's
Yeah,
Becky Lynch. But just the visual of her next to her man, that looks good. Because any other woman around Seth doesn't seem right. But
right.
I think that Becky could add to the dynamic, talking to Paul, giving Paul advice, and now the vignettes are sharper. It's different, and she'd have to be involved in the physicality because there's no other women that's going after her. As far as on the babyface side against the
Hmm.
Vision Group, I think that works perfectly. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. It that could be the perfect setup. And on her side, that would help with the women's intercontinental championship that much more, to have her with the belt, with the vision, just again kind of running roughshod, over the rest of the women's division, while she's got the belt in her hands. It's something when Seth first aligned with Paul Heyman, the rumblings like, oh, well, he's got to bring Becky in, if she ever turns heel, because that would just be perfect. So
Yeah, yeah.
let let's get that going. Like, let's have her
Sure.
walking out there with the rest of the group.
As we start to wrap up and talk about SummerSlam, as we talk about some things that are new again, that used to be old, like Georgia Championship Wrestling. This is so some things are new again. The old is new again, as far as having alliances and groups like this, CJ, and stories. It's really interesting. I think that we have to, as a community, need to be able to have a conversation about this match here with Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. So I think this should be a separate column for you. I think you should talk about this, and I think it'll go viral if it's promoted properly. CJ, I think we need to have a conversation about Jade Cargill. Tell me,
Yeah.
just tell me point blank. Tell me the biggest difference in ring of Jade Cargill in AEW and Jade Cargill in WWE. Real conversation.
Real talk, she has the look. She has the aura. It is not happening inside the ring. Not to the level where she needs to be competing for major championships. When they brought her in, my initial reaction was she should have spent some time in NXT, like really kind of honing her craft. But I'm sure they paid her a boatload of money, and shipped her straight to the main roster, and she's been able to kind of hide, behind Bianca, hide behind Naomi, but she's out there on her own, and it's not working, and a that's a bit of a problem. Uh, Also, who she was working with, and specifically for that match with Tiffany Stratton, was probably not the best use of her talents that she does have, because Tiffany is way more athletic and can do more things inside of the ring, and it just seems like when you are in a one-on-one match with Jade Cargill, and we've seen, I think, a few singles matches that she's done where it seems like her competition has to slow down.
So to be technical with you, it's Tiffany Stratton against Jade Cargill. Who calls the match?
Well, that's the other problem, because I don't think Tiffany's great at calling matches. That's why I said it was a bad mix to put those two together, to fight for the WWE Women's Title, because I as I think Tiffany's like good in the ring, but not good enough to be able to like call the match and quarterback the thing. We saw that with Charlotte, at WrestleMania.
That's correct.
So uh, that was just not the best because neither one of them actually came out of that match looking great. Like Tiffany
Well,
retained, but there were a lot more questions than there were answers um, for Tiffany Stratton, and then Jade Cargill. It was just that was just kind of a bad spot to put her in. I just thought if you were gonna do a singles run with her, which she kind of deserves, like you have her go for that US title, kind of be the workhorse and really, work and hone her craft, before you step her up to, challenge for a major championship. All of her matches, even in the Queen of the Ring, you saw her opponents kind of, how Asuka works.
yes.
Asuka, like Asuka can go like one of the five best women's wrestlers on the planet. She had to slow down for Jade, and you can't have that if you're trying to have Jade as this top star. She has the aura, she has the presence, she has the look. She has that, but for whatever reason, the wrestling has not caught up to what the character could be.
That poster is gorgeous. Those
Mhm.
two, Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. But the actual in ring has to be past this poster that we're looking at
Yes.
right now. Two gorgeous women, two athletic women, right?
Hmm.
But when I say someone's got to call the match, meaning like someone's got to lead the match, say, all right, this is the moves we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, this.
Yeah.
Usually that's usually at the heel more times than
Hmm.
not. And you didn't have a heel in this match, and then you had two women that are such neophytes in the ring, right? It's not saying that they can't. I'm not saying Tiffany Stratton can't wrestle. I'm not saying that
Right.
because we've seen her in some matches. But with Jade, the problem with Jade Cargill is that the WWE, even though they can go to the Performance Center in Orlando and work her out and
Hmm.
put her on the coconut circuit and have a few matches here or there, house shows around Florida. The problem, and it's not just her, but a number of wrestlers, like they're just not on the road enough anymore. They're just not. The veterans, the reason why they get such a push in this company is because they could have a week or two or a month off and they could be able to get back in there from muscle memory and
Hmm.
know exactly what to do. What we saw from Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton was let's memorize our moves.
Hmm.
Nothing's natural. It was a memory match. Let's do exactly what we talked about in the back and let's do that match. They didn't have time on the road to work on those things. Even
Yeah.
Gunther and CM Punk, even though Michael Cole lied again, they wrestled 3 times before
Yeah.
that match we saw.
Hmm.
And Punk, I mean, he looked beat up because he was. Gunther looked beat up, but they had wrestled 3 other times, and it was on the road in part of their international trip, like
Hmm.
Germany, like over there, and like it was off TV. But they worked on some things, like down the line we're going to wrestle, so we need to get on the road. Those two, and they could fuck up probably a lot on the road, but they could get it smooth and straightened out by the time we get to SummerSlam, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I won't make that mistake again. It's forgiving
Hmm.
on the road, right? If you make a few mistakes, but when these two perform maybe in a performance center spot or just talk about their spots, that's what it looks like. It looks like when you don't wrestle one another, it looks like one of the opponents, like Jade Cargill, puts the leg on the rope of Tiffany Stratton for an automatic break, as we saw. Put her leg on the rope. I'm like, no. So Jade loses, and let me just say this about Jade too, CJ. If they really believed in Jade Cargill, she wouldn't lose in 7 minutes.
Hmm. If they really believed in Jade Cargill, that match would not have been 7 minutes. That would have been a longer match.
Right.
It
That's my
would
point.
it would have been a longer match, and they would have been able to tell a story. But there was a reason why it was only 7 minutes because you knew at some point one of them was going to screw up at something, and That's all the everyone else would have been talking about was that botch. And unfortunately we saw that botch with Jade, literally putting her foot on the rope. It was just y- I know that WWE, wants to kind of get away from the whole working 300 nights a year and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if that was going to be the match that you wanted to have at SummerSlam, you should have used whatever house shows you had to have those two work out the kinks. And it just looked like that was I think they faced each other maybe one other time.
Yeah. Did
It
they?
it, it,
Okay.
it looked it looked that way. It just didn't look smooth at all. You can see other wrestlers, like you said, Oscar's been out forever, can come back, no problem. She still goes in the ring. You'll see when Bianca Belair eventually comes back, how she's going to be so smooth in the ring still, because you've done it so many times. They need to figure out, since they have put a lot of stock and money into Jade Cargill, like if she needs to go to NXT and do a run, let her do it. But I don't think you're not doing her any favors by keeping her on the main roster with with no shield, if you will, and Bianca or Naomi or whomever else, and just having her out there because more things are going to get exposed.
All right. We see on the clock we got about 3 minutes left before we can go over and watch our soft porn NXT. So tell us. So tell me.
Miss
Oh, Blake.
Parker,
Oh,
Miss
Miss
Parker.
Parker. Blake Monroe. Oh, it's like looking for the squiggly line, looking for a breast on the squiggly line of HBO back in the day. That's what this is. Kalani Jordan. So before we're done with our to turn over to our soft porn NXT, is there anything else that is left that you'd like to talk about regarding SummerSlam?
I mean, I think we covered it all. Like I said, the women's triple threat was great. The main event, I didn't necessarily like the ending because I wanted Cody to turn heel. CM Punk
Mm-hmm.
and Gunther, was just the old school master class of in ring psychology and wrestling there. But there was just a lot of in between that I didn't really care for that much. The one kind of kudos I'll give is to AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio and their callback to Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio with the match that they did and pulled off. And kudos to Dom. He has grown in leaps and bounds, and his confidence is really showing. Both inside the ring, on the mic, he is just becoming quite the performer. So kudos to those two, and AJ Styles being the great professional he is, being able to kind of play the foil in that match. That was my other highlight of and of course the wreck that was that tables, ladders, and chairs match.
Yeah, man.
That
Ugh, it's bananas. That matchup was just
yeah.
absolutely bananas. Probably the wrong team won. Maybe the weakest team. I predicted Andrade and Phoenix because I didn't have really a winner, but no, it just everything along with other people being involved. Like if Candice LeRae gets the belt, is she winning on behalf of DIY? Like
Yeah,
she wasn't in the match.
right. Yeah, that was the only
Yeah,
head scratcher outside of that. But that TLC match was phenomenal. I think uh, Wyatt Six going over is what they probably was the right call. But that's like you said, the weakest tag team of the bunch. You
yeah.
know, personally, heart wise, I wanted the Street Profits to get the titles back. But uh, yeah, but otherwise, that was pretty much it for me for SummerSlam.
That look, man. That look. Not Dawkins. His Dawkins tag team partner, Montez
Yeah.
Ford.
Yeah, he just walked off. Yeah.
I feel like he's shooting with us half the time. Like he's so pissed off. Like,
Hmm.
where's my singles push or where's our tag team push? Like, we've been champions, but we're really not the guys. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like every time I watch him, I didn't know he was from Chicago until recently. He's actually from
Yeah.
this. I didn't even know that. And a Bears fan. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Um, I I feel like he's just trying to bust out. He just wants to just be like, man, shit or get off the pot with me. Like I'm
Yeah,
I'm in my prime. I don't have too many bumps left. Like
yeah,
I'm a singles. Maybe he's probably saying to himself, "Man, I could be world champion someplace. I just can't do it here because I'm in this tag team." No diss on Dawkins, but I always feel
yeah.
like he's like me and Bianca could go and do some things as a heel,
Hmm.
as a heel couple, kind of like we're seeing with Seth and Becky, right? I'm thinking he's
Yeah.
thinking like me and my girl could do something, right?
He
Ah,
uh he is just way too talented, way too charismatic to have not had some form of a single. If you weren't gonna put him on the main title scene, whatever. At least let him run with an intercontinental title for a while. Like we've seen too much of him in the ring, whether as a singles performer or in a tag team, to not look at him and go, how can he not be one of the future stars of this company? You're looking for future baby faces. He's that guy. And for whatever reason, they just refuse to elevate him to that status. And I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Dawkins too, because they should have been multiple time, long reigning, tag team champions. You should be mentioning the Street Profits, among some of the best tag teams to ever do it. And for whatever reason, they can't get over. And I don't understand because they're over with the crowd. I just don't get it.
hey, if you like our conversation about pro wrestling, I know you guys are checking me out on the J Hood show feed on YouTube. Make sure you like this video. I appreciate your support as always on my wrestling content. You can catch me out on Sundays for Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. It was called Busted Open for a long time, but I have to write it down just to remind myself there's Pro Wrestling Nation. So I have to write this down. This is inside, folks. This is the height of journalism right here. This is it right there. Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7 as I host with Justin LeBar. I hope that you are able to listen to that show on SiriusXM and also on Thursdays, Good Karma Wrestling. The height of journalism. Got to put it down, write it down right there for Good Karma Wrestling. Hope that you support us on YouTube for that show as well. And also CJ as well. There will be a column coming out of this conversation, I'm sure, from his blog. And there's always craziness on there. You never know what his opinion is going to be. Follow him on TikTok and also on X and the ctjreport.net. Sir, as always, I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you having me as always, sir.
All right, we're gonna go now because soft porn is on. With
We're
the
8 minutes past.
oh man, we missed it. Oh no, oh no, we gotta go see Chase U now and see what they're doing. For CJ, I'm Jay Hood. Thanks for listening and checking out a special edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday.